EGM Network.
This is Martha Matters. From real estate, healthcare, current events, taxes, or just about any topic, we're talking about it. Call us with any questions on just about any subject. Now, here she is, Martha!
Well, hi there and welcome everyone. We have an interesting topic as always, but I want to really give you a brief education on plantings. Those of you who just bought new homes or want to redo the front or backyard, whatever the case may be, you need to know a few things besides just planting what you want or what you think is pretty. So we will get started with just that. First of all, it depends on how your yard faces. If it's north facing south, if it's south facing north, same with facing east or facing west. And I'll tell you something else. If it's at an angle like northwest, southeast, northeast, you're not out of the woods, because at certain angles of your yard, if you don't face directly north or south or directly east and west, these angles could give you a wind tunnel almost every day. And where I live is exposed to that. Where my place is exposed at an angle, so if a front is coming through from the northwest, we get wind right by the front door of our complex all day long. For the whole month of September and half of October, the entire wind has either come from the northeast or the southeast, and our front entrance faces in such a way that we get a wind tunnel from either one of them. The only time we're protected from wind is when it blows from the southwest, which has not happened much this summer at all, which is why we're not in a drought, but we were relatively dry for July and August. We did not have a wet season because most of the moisture came from the east, from the Atlantic Ocean, and it blew past the barrier islands and the coastal Florida area, and the place that got the heavy rain was Central Florida and even Eastern Florida west of, let's say, 95. They have puddles all over the place from July and August. And while we did not have a drought because we had a lot of cloudy weather, which helps contain the moisture, we had a very dry summer on the eastern seaboard. It was not wet at all. And again, it all depended not on the low pressures and high pressures. It depended on which way the wind and jet streams were blowing. And it was a very unusual summer in eastern Florida when most of the wind came from the Atlantic, which pushed all moisture clouds inland. And those along the 95 corridor and certainly the coastal part has had very little rain. The one exception was the last 5 days of September and the first 4 days of October. All of a sudden, we had rain every single day and downpours at night where we developed puddles. However, briefly, those puddles disappeared 2 days later because we were basically pretty dry. So, also related to gardening, and I wish all the channels would do more for this. We had this is the first season, and I don't know how many decades we did not have a storm developing in the Eastern Caribbean or our famous Bay of Campeche on the Gulf. We're now facing November, and not a single Gulf storm like last year, the bad ones, all developed, whether it's Milton or others, all developed in the Bay of Campeche and expanded their viciousness. So this is all due, believe it or not, to the Sahara dust or the Sahara sand, whatever we want to call it, that gives us overcast, cloudy weather, and it's so extremely dry, it will not allow any storms to develop. The moisture is sheared away, and at most you could get maybe a couple of clouds of rain, but not even a named storm. Look, we didn't even make it halfway through the alphabet this year.
Yeah. So many people, Martha, not to interrupt you, said that they'd rather have the cloudy days, and we had a fair amount of rain at like weeks at a time where I live. I don't live on the Barrier Island, in my neighborhood. To not have any hurricanes. But you've lived here a long time, so have I, Martha. I remember years and years when we didn't have hardly any storms.
Yes, there were several, but not recently.
No, not recently.
And they all say these heavier storms are coming because of the climatic change.
Okay.
Well, I am disagreeing with that. This year they were significantly lighter, and they would largely due, which the Weather Channel did not take into consideration until it happened, the abundance all over the Atlantic, Caribbean, and even the Gulf of the Sahara dust.
Right, yeah.
And they ought to look at the Sahara dust and the winds coming off of North Africa like that, and maybe they can make better predictions whether we'll have hurricanes or not.
Yeah, I wonder about that too, because you talk about it a lot on this show, Martha, and I don't hear it that often. Maybe a little bit I'll meet somebody that actually has heard of the Sahara dust.
That's right.
Yeah.
In fact, on the Weather Channel, if you listen to it enough times, they say, well, it's not going to go north because it's into the unfriendly Sahara dust neighborhood.
Okay.
But they will not tell you how come we have so much Sahara dust. 10, 20 years ago, we never heard of it.
Right, that's true.
Whether it existed or not.
That's true.
So let's just say this is a very nice climatic change, not a negative climatic change, and we ought to learn a little more about it. That's my request to all the weather channels.
Okay, I agree with you, because why does it always have to be sensationalized? Why can't it be sensationalized good weather?
Right. Right.
That's what we're all looking for, isn't it?
Well, we don't need to worry about hurricanes as much, because look at all the dust we have covering the whole Atlantic and this and that.
Right.
And they won't do it. And it makes it nicer and more honest to talk to the general public. And even now, we're facing November pretty quickly. And that's the end of it. We haven't had super strong hurricanes in November. We've had a few tropical storms and a couple of heavy downpours, but not the severe wind, not the categories 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Okay, so I'm going to cross my fingers here, and then we're going to get to the Florida gardening, right,
Yeah,
Martha?
let's get to the gardening.
Let's get to that.
I started talking about these wind tunnels. And so you have to do a study on which direction your front yard faces. Now, I'll give you an example. a lot of people are buying what we call the Thailand the Thailand plants. Those are the reddish purple ones that are quite pretty, that have long, slender leaves. Not so much flowers, but they're purple and maroon color really attract a lot of people. You'll see them around banks and even commercial buildings. Well, that's the secret. They cannot handle heavy wind. So when you see those beautiful Thai plants, which are purplish and reddish, they're the only plants like that, you'll find that they're up against a building like a bank, a shopping center, and they are in protected areas like in between hedges where the wind can blow different directions, but you see the purple leaves coming up out of the middle between hedges and things like that. They cannot stand alone and handle wind, or they look really browbeaten and are not pretty to even look at. That's number one. So you will see them quite often driving on any street, but they're solidly against a building so that any gusts of wind will not really knock them around. That's one thing. Another plant like crotons, which are quite popular, they're more native to just this area. They don't care if they have 100% sunshine. They don't need shade, but they like shade. They can also have wind, and they're used to episodes of a lot of rain and then episodes of no rain at all. So they are really conditioned to looking pretty decent all the time.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point, too. I've gotten involved with, and I'm not great at it yet, I'm trying the Florida native plants. Dr. Richard Baker here in Indian River County is a big proponent of that, and
Yes.
also, we all know him from that. And they do withstand so much Florida native plants, being planted in your yard, all the elements and stuff that we throw at it.
Yes, yes.
So as a not successful gardener myself, I really like that better because they seem to make it. You know what I mean? I don't want to plant something and then it's dead a couple of months later. These seem to make it better. So just keep that in mind too, Martha. Good point.
Yeah, and we've also have a lot of people who come from up north. They really like ferns. There are 20 varieties of ferns, but they are all used to a 4-season climate.
Mm-hmm.
And down here, they don't die. They grow like a weed, and you can not keep them pulled out if you want them to be only in a certain bed of plants. They will literally take over like a weed. They'll kill the Thai plant. They'll kill any other types of, whether it's annual or perennial plants. They will completely outgrow them because they've never had a one season where they can be abundant all the time. Yes, they'll grow here, but they're literally like a weed. In our yard, they actually send up spurts right into the grassy areas. They want to take over everything, and I really don't recommend them. You can have a lot of greeneries of different shades, dark green, which some people like, light green, and the contrast between the two, variegated leaves that are white and green, like Trinette, are fine, but they grow where you plant them, and they don't spread like a weed. And that is important on designing how you want a pretty yard. No one wants to, 12 months a year, be pulling out ferns or weeds in the wrong place and be constantly weeding it. It gets tiresome very fast, and after a few years, even some people will make the garden larger and cave in to these fast-growing, spreading plants.
Yeah, that's a good point too, Martha. I've made that mistake too. And there's one in my yard. It's more of a vine, and it seems to take everything over. It's a pretty little plant, little tiny flowers on the end of it, but I'm with you. It drives me insane. For 30 years, I've been pulling the same vine out. I don't know what to do.
Jasmine does a lot of that.
Okay, yeah.
And it will grow up the sides of palm trees.
That's what this does.
And palm trees, for the most part, can handle it in the sense that it doesn't grow on their fronds or leaves at the top of the tree. But it climbs all around the tree. Right. And if it climbs around let's say other trees like Florida oaks, it actually hurts them.
Yeah, my neighbor had that. It was with, I want to say a philodendron. Maybe I'm saying the wrong thing. I don't want to.
Philodendron or other examples of that.
On that pine tree, and it about suffocated it. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it about did.
So that's one thing. And then in addition, all the plants that can get along well together. You can have annuals, which are plants that only last about 8 months. You can have, they're called perennials, but like pentas. But to be truthful, after 3 years, they get to look ugly and spindly. But they're called perennials because they can look pretty for 2 to 3 years rather than just lasting 8 months. But in my books, they're still annuals, but I see why they argue that they're not. Because to me, other solid plants like the crotons, like hibiscus, they are true perennials. They will last several years. I have to admit with hibiscus, while they grow nicely, there are 2 things. They need water at least twice a week. So in the wintertime, you really need to have a sprinkler system or have a schedule of hand watering them. And after 10 years, they get very thick stems. We call them leggy looking, and they're not as attractive. So on that note, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll come back to some more ideas.
Blue Dolphin Pools strives to provide quality service with a well-trained staff in the field and in the office. They want you to know that your pool or spa investment means much more to them than just another account. They believe you have entrusted them with your investment, and they'll do their best to see that it stays in top condition. Blue Dolphin Pool has been in business over 35 years, setting them apart from the competition. Residential or commercial, Blue Dolphin will keep you in the swim. 567-5853.
Welcome to Riverside Theater's Comedy Zone, where the comedy is wild, untamed, and downright hilarious. Hit the zone this Friday and Saturday night at 6:30 and 8:30 for the Treasure Coast's best live stand-up comedy show, featuring nationally recognized comedians with cabaret-style seating and food and drink table service. Buy tickets at riversidetheater.com and get ready for a night of non-stop laughs.
At Sunshine Furniture, our 35,000 square foot showroom is filled with the largest selection of in-stock coastal furniture on the Treasure Coast. Dining and bedroom sets, occasional tables, sofas, sleeper sofas, love seats, and chairs in the latest styles and colors from Tommy Bahama, Lexington, Hooker, Four Seasons, Braxton, Color, and Capri. We're the outdoor furniture experts and have hundreds of styles of any patio furniture you need, including a gallery of American-made Telescope, Berlin Gardens, Lloyd Flanders, and and polywood, all with no tariff ever. And we also specialize in fire pits, outdoor rugs, umbrellas, and replacement cushions. Right now, we're having a huge floor sample sale with lots of great markdowns on everything you need for your Florida home, including all pictures, lamps, and accessories half price. Sunshine Furniture, $12.95 US 1 in the Publix Plaza, Vero Beach. Don't forget to visit our outlet store directly across the street, filled with lots of name brand closeouts and sale items. And visit our website at sunshinefurniturecasual.com.
Okay, I'm glad we're back. I want to quick mention a few more things to you. When you like, and most of us do, whether you're a year-rounder or a snowbird, impatiens. That's an annual one, and many times, over many years, they have some colors that seem to be a little hardier than others. For a while, the white color was very weak, and the foliage was very light, almost not attractive, a very light green. And then you have others that are darker green, medium green. Well, let me tell you, with impatiens, I strongly recommend that you buy less and less of them and buy more and more of a new hardier variety called sun impatiens. They look exactly the same just about, and as far as the flowers are concerned, but the leaves themselves are much more attractive, and most important, in our dry season, they're much hardier. They don't weep, where they got their name from, impatiens. If after 2 days they don't have water, their leaves sort of wilt a little, which is how they got their name. Sun impatiens are much hardier, that if you have a sprinkler system for twice a week or once a week, if we do get rain the other time during the week, that's fine. But you've got to be aware of their needs for watering. But this hardier variety, sun impatiens, is much, much hardier and can withstand water or sprinkling variations. Also, I strongly recommend, there are a lot of different green plants that are very nice. You have trinettes that are solid color, variegated, even fully white ones without the green, that are absolutely beautiful, and you can have all different combinations of them, which is great. And you also have what they call copper plants. I call them red leaf plants. They don't have flowers, but they have real maroon leaves that look pretty. And they're pretty when they're contrasted around dark and light green plants. It very, very attractive. And then of the crotons that I mentioned, you also have literally more than 10 common varieties. You have some of their leaves that we call the curlicues. The leaves look like they were in a hair design with rollers. Remember when we used to use rollers?
Or curling irons.
Or
remember
iron.
that?
Or
Remember
a curling iron. So that's just one of the varieties. I can't say that I like or prefer one over the other, but almost all of the varieties of crotons are very hardy. And again, when they're planted mix with different green plants, it's a very pretty contrasting combination. So on that note, we're going to have to go. We should really have another event talking about plants, because 20 minutes doesn't quite do it. But I hope we've gotten started and you've gotten some great ideas. And we'll see you next time, next week. Have a great day.